welcome. My name is Hlekani Kabiti. Born in Zimbabwe, originally in Zimbabwe. Grew up in Zimbabwe. Did my primary education and secondary education here, what you call all the way to like matric in Zimbabwe. So I came to South Africa for my university studies. So for my first degree, I had it here in South Africa. So born in a family of girls only, being the third one in the family. So, you know, when you're a third child, you're not spoiled that much. It's like the mother focuses, and the parents, they focus on grooming the older one and spoiling the younger one. So you, the middle children, you have to take care of yourself. I put my academic journey from like primary education and all. So when I since starting going to school, I've always been excelling. Like you go to school, you're like the top 10% almost always from the beginning. So also going through that one, you wouldn't have the mentality that you end up like in university, in research, in academia, because it's just not one of the common things which people talk about. So you'll be looking at you wanting to get into the medical field, engineering field, that kind of thing. That's what I also grew up having. Then until I finished my school, and when I was about to get into university, I had issues actually with my applications. Like I applied in SIM and I had issues. I sent actually someone to like my father's friend. He took like my application forms. He was supposed to go and submit them to the university, and I only realized that he did not submit my applications when like others are now being called, they are going to university. So for me it was like a stressful time at that moment, because I'm thinking, because I did not apply to university, what am I going to be doing like this whole year if I need to wait for the following intake? So when I was at that point and moment, I started looking for other alternatives, like any university which is still open and whatever degree they can offer me. Then I applied to one of the universities, which was not my preference, and I was offered a degree in and they're calling it Bachelor of Wildlife Management, like, yeah, it was Wildlife Management, yeah, something like that. And that was something which was completely out of the things which I was looking at. And at that point, you know, I was stressing, should I let it go and stay at home this whole year? But I felt also like it's too much for me. Then talking to someone, one of the individuals I talked to was like, you know what, sometimes in life there are things which you are called to do, but maybe you don't even want them. And you may find that you may not take up this degree. Then you go and apply at the university which you want. They will still offer you something along those lines. So I was like, okay, let me maybe just go and be doing that. But also at the same time, when after I had heard of the news, I saw a call for like scholarships which were taking people to the South African universities if you qualified. It was a government program by then, the Zimbabwean government program. So I had applied for that. So I think this university in Zim, which I had got this place, it opened. I went there. I think we're still doing the registration processes. Then that's when I received a call from these ones were for the scholarships. And they said, oh, you got the scholarships, you can come and fill in whatever the information you want to. And when we got there, I was excited that at least I'm leaving this degree in wildlife management. I don't like this thing, I don't even know what it is. Then when I was going there, I was looking forward to something along the lines which I wanted. I wanted to do something like engineering, medical field, something along those lines. So when I got there, they're telling me, you got a place, but the place which we got for you is to study agribusiness management. For me, it was still the same line with the one which I was not comfortable with. I was like, now beginning to dawn on me to say, maybe this is indeed the line which I should be following. I never did agriculture at school. I never studied even like business management. Of course, I had done accounting, I had done a bit of commerce, but that was not even like where I considered my strength to be at all. I was more into like the hard sciences thing, like talk of mathematics, talk of biology, talk of chemistry. Those were like my interests where they were. So now I was now beginning like to restructure myself. I said, okay, what do I do? Of course, you're excited that I got this scholarship. They're going to pay for everything that has to do with your education, your expensive traveling to South Africa, your upkeep there, like they're paying for everything.
Yes.
And I had that dilemma, but I quickly got over it. And like, anyway, I was going to do this thing here, so let me as well go and explore and see the other side of the world and how things are done in different spaces. So that's when I came to South Africa. I was studying at University of Venda. I started doing agribusiness management. That was the degree which I was offered. And actually this scholarship, it came with quite strict conditions to say you can't choose, you can't leave the degree which we've agreed upon, which we are signing up for. If you are signing up, you're agreeing that you're going to be studying this and you continue with that. So that's what I did. That's how I ended up like in studying agribusiness management first degree. So when we're getting to the end of the degree, you start considering, okay, so what's next? And should I now go back home and start looking for a job? And what are the other alternatives there? So I started exploring the alternatives of continuing to do your master's program. And at the same university, there were places and there were quite nice incentives if you wanted to do your postgraduate studies, because you incentivized that you would just pay like the registration fee, then the rest of the expenses the university will cater for, as a way of encouraging students to take up postgraduate studies. So I considered that, and I decided to just jump straight forward from after my first degree. I went into masters, and at master's level I studied agricultural economics. It's something which is also related to agribusiness management, though focusing on the economic side. So I also did agricultural economics at masters. And then when you're getting to PhD, you know, when you're doing masters, you're always applying, you're looking for opportunities and all. And now you're getting to the end of your masters and you haven't found any solid opportunity like a workplace or stuff. Then you start thinking, should I just go back home and sit and focus on looking for a job? Or should I just, okay, let me just do. and as you do it, this thing is also growing into you. You're finding it now to become more and more easier for you to do. You're just gliding through. So you're thinking, okay, let me, at least with these degrees, my mind is occupied and focused on something. I'm not just concentrating on like just looking for a job, like I'm looking for something to do only. I have something to occupy myself, and I'm also like I'm improving myself in a way.
Yes.
I'm becoming better, because you don't lose anything by having an extra degree.
Yes.
And actually, if anything, you're actually improving yourself. So that's when I also went ahead and registered for a PhD in rural development now. So for me, I felt like, okay, if I continue moving, I don't necessarily need to do a master's in agricultural economics, a PhD in agricultural economics. I feel like all these three, they are linked, because they kind of speak to one or more or less related aspects. So I felt like it's actually broadening my horizon as well, because I can talk about something across these three disciplines. So that's how I ended up doing my PhD as well in rural development. So in all, I would say that has been my journey in terms of academic wise. And from there, that's when I came to Walter Sisulu University from that time, and I was already having my PhD. So when I came here, I was like a postdoctoral fellow, which is like a research post. So I was still into like scholarly work and in academics. So also to talk about some of my achievements along the lines, my first degree, it was I had a distinction, like graduated with a distinction, actually like the second best in that year people graduated in the university. And at master's level, my master's, no, it was not distinction, but it was, and my PhD, I finished my PhD in like 3 years. I did it over 3 years because I was doing it full time and I was concentrated. By the time I finished, I wanted to get it done and over with. I'm proud of myself for that. And so then after my PhD, I came to Waterloo University as a postdoctoral fellow. And when with time, that was, by then that was like 2017. So from then I've grown in the institution also to become a researcher. So I'm still like active in research and still in academia as of now. So ultimately, like I found myself in totally wrapped up in academia. Yeah, I think one thing which you have to note is that especially when you are in the same faculty, degrees, they might differ, a number of degrees, they might differ maybe towards the end, like the final year of study, but find that people who are in that same department, maybe you are enrolled in different degrees, but you study together, like from first year up until even in fourth year, you still have a few more courses which you do together. So now when now going to masters, some of the requirements, they can be shared through like different course programs. So you qualify to enter into that master's program as long as you have like those prerequisite courses. So it's a matter of understanding, like firstly your degree which you are doing and how is it linked to other degrees and what other opportunities does it open up for you. So one does not necessarily need to stick in that particular with the same name, with the same maybe the same department or what, but you look at what is the horizon which your degree opens up for you, because you might still qualify in a different degree, like a degree with a different name from the one which you are actually doing. Okay. Firstly, for this scholarship, they were just looking, at that time they were calling for people who are from like disadvantaged backgrounds but who are also good in school, because they wanted to like close that gap between, to say there are some people who are from disadvantaged families, but that should not stop them from getting opportunities and also like exploring their capabilities and like going all out there. So they were looking, that was like one of the major criteria, but also you had to have done well in your secondary education. So also your results, they also contributed. And now for you to qualify for that degree program for agribusiness management, is like it's a degree which is under like Faculty of Agriculture. So they looked at if you had subjects like mathematics, then also science subjects like biology, like chemistry. So they needed at least maybe maths and at least one of that, so you could qualify in that. So those were some of the requirements, but I think requirements, more of them you can log into university websites, those things are there, they're available. You can log into that to get an in-depth understanding of what are the requirements for particular program. With me at that time, we were privileged because this scholarship, it was also handled at the level of international affairs, where the government of Zimbabwe will be in contact, in negotiations with the government of South Africa. So as an individual, I didn't have to go through like the process of looking for like whether do I qualify for this or what. They did it like on our behalf. We sent our results and they checked for us like the programs which we could qualify for. Then they gave that feedback to us. Not totally, because when I came here for the postdoctoral fellowship, of course a postdoctoral fellowship is like the entry step for someone with a PhD into like academia, into universities and into research. So when I came for the postdoc, I didn't even expect like to be to be still at this university. I was like, okay, it's a short-term thing, it's a 2-year contract, I'll do that, then I'll move forward. But I found myself here and I grow into becoming a researcher. So now I focus mainly on doing research and working with postgraduate students supervising them like masters and PhD students, giving guidance to their work, and also doing research work with them. But so usually when you are at the point like at masters, at PhD level, when you are doing it, the first thing that comes to your mind is like in a university I'll be doing like lecturing. So your mind is mainly focused and geared towards lecturing. But now when I came to this place, I was attached to a research center where they don't have their own students who are registered. They don't offer a degree in that center. So that center focuses on doing research. And that's what I've been doing research and working with students who are doing research. Yeah, it's quite fair. I wouldn't know what someone they are looking for huge compensation. How huge is the huge which you are looking at? But it's quite decent. It's quite decent. Of course, at that level, you cannot be talking of looking for bread and milk. At that level, those are not your stories. But of course, it depends. And also the good thing about this is that it even opens up opportunities for you to do more. So it depends on how far you want to take whatever you have. Because as long as you have your PhD, like the avenues are numerous. One thing which a PhD teaches you to do is for you to be able to, I always argue that someone with a PhD, you can put them anywhere and they can be able to do that thing as long as you tell them what they are supposed to do. Or you even give them a direction, say go and read how you're supposed to do this thing. I believe they can always be able to do that because a PhD teaches you to learn. So you are like, you've been trained to learn. You can learn in whatever situation you are and get to understand what is supposed to be done and how it's supposed to be done as long as you just have that self-drive. So with that ability to learn, you can be in whatever environment, whatever sphere, you can be able to do whatever is required to be done there. So now when you have your PhD, like your opportunities are numerous. It just depends on how far you can take it, whether you want to go to like maybe private sector, whether you want to go into academia, whether you want to go to non-governmental organizations. So it's about maybe also the direction which you want to continue. But also within universities, it's okay. Like you are okay. There's like the stability in there, and financial wise you are good. You are okay. You don't talk of bread, milk, meat issues. No, of course you talk about other.
Supply.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
It depends on what one wants to do. If you do have the interest, or if you also happen to find yourself there, it's good. Like it's not something which you actually say I'm regretting, like taking this pathway. You wouldn't regret, because you can always do something with whatever you have. Like the qualifications, they are always valuable all the time. I don't see any reason why one would regret maybe having a particular qualification at any point, because you can use it for different things. But it's also important to follow that. If you fall in love with it, you have to fall in love with it like at some point, because we are talking about generation of knowledge, like continuous learning. So learning is driven by self-will. So if you are not interested in that, then the learning stops. Then your journey in academia or as a scholar, it means it would have stopped as well, and you will not be able to sustain yourself in that environment. So there is that need for you to have your personal self-drive, and if it's something which you are growing and falling more and more in love with, like over time, then you'll find it very interesting. And I would recommend it. It's to anyone. It's quite a privilege. There are very few people. A lot of people can learn, but very few people are able to generate knowledge, to generate information. Being a PhD holder, that's one distinction which you have. You have proven yourself that you can create knowledge. You don't just engage with knowledge, you don't just read knowledge, but you are a knowledge creator. And it's something very satisfactory. You get satisfied that I can create knowledge. I can create knowledge which can be shared across, and that's not for everyone. It's numerous points as a scholar where your impact is felt. Firstly, in your workplace, the fact that I'm just here, I'm working with postgraduate students, that's my impact already. I'm giving them direction in their work, and when they graduate, I know it's my inputs which facilitated that the student they write their thesis, they write up their dissertation. It's an impact already in the life of that young person whom we are working with. But besides that, it doesn't end there. We like research which you carry out, you're generating knowledge, you're producing knowledge which is used at different spheres. Like at government levels, you do policy briefs, you generate maybe knowledge packets which are shared across communities, maybe in response to a particular community challenge. They use those booklets to maybe to understand a particular phenomenon in their life. That is impact. And also like some of the knowledge which you generate, it can be taken up depending on the will of the government or non-governmental organization into things which are actually tangible within maybe communities. I remember at some point when I was still doing my PhD, I was involved in like a community engagement program, and in that program we were working like university, communities, the municipalities, the traditional leaders in like the processes of coming up with the integrated development plans for the community, and like through an engaged process. So after the creation of these community plans, part of it was taken and adopted by the government, and there was like a community center which was built up in that community in Limpopo there. So already from that you can count that, okay, it is because of the work which we initiated these discussions whereby at the end development is channeled by the needs of the people, and the people actually have their voice in the direction through which development in their community is going. Besides like the usual, like, yeah, we have engaged with people, but with this one it was actually exactly what the people had said that they would want in their community, for them to say they are seeing significant development. So that's just one of the ways in which you see like research being translated into like real life circumstances, real life solutions, besides what we have just written in the books. And on top of that, the kind of work which we do when you do publications and all, you are putting firstly the country on your spotlight, because you are sharing knowledge which is associated from South Africa. We are explaining phenomenon from South Africa. We are talking about issues with the African, from the African context, and talking about Africa as Africans. So that really adds value as well. Like we are telling the African story as Africans. So that's another angle to which the kind of work which you do benefits like the community, benefits yourself, benefits the country. Okay, maybe just to encourage someone, like the journey is not always easy. Like there are so many challenges like which you may find on the way. Firstly, as you know, people from like within our African context, you might have numerous challenges with higher education being very expensive. Sometimes it's not always easy, or not always everyone who gets privileged to get the opportunity to go through like higher education like the way I did. With me, I was very privileged because I didn't get to pay for any of my university education. Firstly, I had a scholarship which I got from Zimbabwe. Then when I came here, the university, they had a scheme to encourage postgraduate students. So I would only pay like a very small amount, like the registration fee only. Then they will even pay for our accommodation, and you would get like opportunities within the university maybe to do part-time tutoring and stuff. So basically I didn't have to go back like to put the pressure on my family to say I want money for this, I want for that. So sometimes when you are trying to find yourself in that space, you might have such kind of challenges. But I just want to encourage, if that is what you want to do, there are always opportunities. And one good thing about South Africa is ripe with opportunities. You should just have the energy and the drive to go after them. And there are so many scholarships for South African children to go after. So don't let funding be a limitation to you, but go out there, look for where you can get the funding to do research. And now through like the National Research Foundation, the various research institutions, they are offering numerous like bursaries and scholarships for students. So funding should not be the reason why you cannot pursue, especially postgraduate studies. Funding should not be the reason, should not be a problem. Just go after what you want and pursue it with all your energy, and you definitely find a space in there. And with me also, like my background, my father was very supportive with my studies. That's the other thing, because sometimes people get pressure from the families to say, you've been going to school now, it's been how many years? It's close to 10 years, you're just still saying you're in university. But with me, I was privileged enough. My family was very supportive from my father from the beginning. Actually, as I was growing up, he used to call me a professor actually when I was still young. And for me, I take it that it was his vision which came to pass, because I didn't see myself in that sphere already. And he was supportive all the way. The point that sometimes when you are here, you've been doing your small jobs and you have your money. When you go home, you don't even want like say, "I don't give me money, I'm okay." But you would insist to say, "No, I'm giving you. It's your father giving to you, so you cannot say no." But I was privileged enough to have that kind of support as well from home. So that's the other challenge sometimes, which other people who are pursuing this are faced with, where the support from home is not so good, and now you maybe at some point you have to leave this journey and go maybe and get yourself a job so that you can maybe take care of your family and address other things before you can actually come back and pursue the journey to become a full-fledged scholar. But anyway, being a scholar, you're continuously learning, so you can never be to say I'm done, I'm done being So it's a continuous process. You keep on improving yourself from time to time. Thank you so much.